So I'm sitting here appreciating the fact that I am a survivor. And what exactly am I a survivor of? Maybe a tiger attack? Being kidnapped by a terrorist organization? Leprosy? No. Something far, far worse. The school drop-off and pickup line. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. This is a podcast for anybody whose life may have turned out a little less than traditional. Yeah, people, we are like a couple of weeks into the school year now here where I live. And, oh my gosh. It's been a lot. It's been a lot, but as I said, I'm surviving. Because basically what happened is my kids go to like a charter school, and they were at one location last year. It was smaller, but it was manageable, like picking up, dropping off, all that stuff. Yeah, we made it work. It was good, not so bad. This year, my kids moved into like a big old building. It's nice. It's fancy. It's legit. Super thankful that they're there. Don't want to complain because this, again, it's like a charter school, first come, first serve thing that has now like a waiting list on it for other kids to get in of like 500 students who are just chilling, hoping they can get into the school that my girls go to. So I'm super thankful. But them going to this new building meant how they do the whole pickup drop-off thing had to change. And the first like week or so logistically was crazy to where I think even still now it's better now. Like we're figuring it out. They're figuring it out, but me and my girls definitely had some PTSD from those first few days, baby. Woo! But we're good. I'm good. I'm alive. We're chilling. And I'm here appreciating you for joining us for another episode of the podcast. Super excited for this one as we have our first guest of the season that I'm going to introduce you to here in just a moment. But before we go hang out with her, a few things I'd like to ask you to do. The first thing is just maybe consider sharing this podcast with a friend, with a family member, with somebody in your school pickup drop-off line. So that way, maybe that's the beginning of your enemies to lover pipeline, right? Like, you never know. Share a podcast, make a friend. I think that's what they say, right? Yeah, it is. Somebody says that. Somebody has said that. So share the podcast around so we can keep building the voices of the show, building community, all those sweet, sweet things. Next, I would just ask that maybe you, for yourself, consider subscribing to the podcast. That way you never miss an episode in the future, especially if you like today's guest as much as I do. I think I want to try to have her back as many times as she wants and is willing to come on. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you're subscribed so you hear more from her in the future. And then last but not least, if you feel like the show was worthy of it, maybe consider rating the show 5 stars, highest rating possible on your favorite podcast hosting platform, so it tells the algorithms out there that the show is legit and it passes it along to more people. All right, so how does my hair look? Before we go hang out with our guests, does my hair look okay for the video viewers of the podcast? Our guest is a hairstylist, and I just want to make sure. I went and got a haircut because I knew I was hanging out with her to record the show, so I gotta make sure I'm looking good. I think maybe I'll just ask her. Maybe I'll ask her if my haircut looks good and get her hot take on that. Okay, so I'm good. All right. I'm fresh. We got this. Let's go hang out with our guest right now at the park. All right, you guys, check it out. I am here with a hot mom of 2 beautiful kids. We got somebody who's a giant Billie Eilish stan. We have somebody here who is basically known all across North America as the best hairstylist there is. And not only that, but we have one of the co-hosts of the Good Girls broadcast. I'm talking about Tawny.
Hello.
What's up? What's going on?
What an intro.
You like that?
I'm flattered.
Yeah, I stayed up all night writing that just to make sure we let the people know exactly the the prestige guests that we do have on the show today.
Big fish in a little pond.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. No, seriously, guys, I'm super excited to have Tawny on because I just we don't know each other like super well, but what I do know about you is that you're just dope. That's what
you.
That's what I know. That's what I mean. I could be wrong. I could be sitting here just completely off base, but I don't think so. I think you're dope.
Got to keep the people guessing,
Oh, okay. So then how about this? Over the course of this episode, we'll kind of just let you, the people, decide
Yeah, you
if
guys
you
can
think
tell me.
Tawny. Actually, that's what if you guys go to Spotify, we have like little polls and stuff up there for the show. So I'll make that the poll for this week, and you guys can vote if you think Tawny is dope. And then if the reviews are bad, I'll just lie.
You
I'll
guys
lie
better
and say
yes.
that they're good.
Say yes.
I think we're good. But Tawny, thanks again for coming on the show. We got a lot of good stuff to get into, but I have a couple of very serious, pressing questions before we do and get into that good.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is, as a hairstylist pro, look at her own hair, styling. I told you I was getting a haircut yesterday.
Yeah.
So from what you can see from my hat and my headphones, yeah, what do you think? Pretty good?
Yeah, nice. Where do you go?
Downtown, there's like a little barbershop by my house. This one guy who's rarely like hit and miss.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, finding treasure at the end of a rainbow.
For sure.
If he's actually going to be in his shop or not. But when he is, yeah, he does pretty good work.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I had to do that for my own ego. I had to boost my own ego for a sec. So now that I did that, that's going to be the show, you guys. That's all I really needed to come here to do. That's it. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. No, just kidding. Next big question. You know what? I have like 3 big questions. All right. Because again, I mentioned from the jump that Tawny has her own show called The Good Girls Broadcast. We'll talk about that more in a second. But I binged your guys' show.
Oh gosh.
Prepping for this episode with you. So right off the jump, we talked about how good I look, so thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
And then next, High School Musical. You're a big High School Musical fan, yeah?
I'm a big musical fan in general.
In general?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's just pull Audible. What's your favorite musical of all time?
Hairspray. But
Okay.
the new adaptation. The old one's kind of spooky, so.
Is that the one with, speaking of High School Musical, Zac Efron?
Yeah.
Is that the same one you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've seen that one. I don't remember what it's about.
The dancing competition. It's like a dancing show, yeah.
It's like a show.
In the 60s.
And but what is the plot? Give us a rundown of the plot really quick.
Tracy, she's the main character. She's not conventionally attractive is the whole basis of this, and she gets the cute guy, and she's the best dancer, and she out dances the cool girl, and she makes it on the Corny Collins show. It's a great watch.
Okay, all right. I'll have to check that out. Have you ever seen Wicked? Because that movie's coming out, and I was going to take my girls to see that.
I'm so excited to go see the movie. I actually haven't seen the musical before.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm excited. We actually saw the previews for that when we went to a movie not too long ago. I can't remember what, but we were excited for that. Looks
okay,
good.
All right. So, but the original question I was going to ask when it comes to High School Musical,
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, can you rank them off the top of your head? Which one is the best? Which one is the worst? Start at number 3. Which one's the worst, and then work your way up 1, 2, 3.
Worst, I would say the first one is the worst.
Oh, the OG.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then third, it's not great. It's not the worst. The third one.
Sure, that's the middle. Okay,
But the second one, their summer break one, is my favorite.
Nice. I think that's the right answer.
I think so.
Let me see if I disagree about. No, I agree because you're right. The second one's obviously the best. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Well, shoot. I'll have to maybe, and when we're done, turn the camera around and show you guys if you're watching the video version of this podcast. But we're in like a park with a bunch of like green hills. And this reminds me of Zach's
his moment, his
Bet
song.
on It song. So maybe it makes me maybe after this podcast I'll go do a little running and leaping and jumping. There's no little pond though, in the song where he looks at his reflection. Yeah.
I'm sure you can make a puddle somewhere.
That's a miss. But and then you're right, the third one's good because I don't know why. I watched the third one not too long ago. And the ending of the third one like got me teary-eyed.
Oh yeah.
when they like are
Graduation.
graduating
Yeah.
and then like the big six come out and do the bow.
It's emotional.
Yeah, it hits you.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I'm a big crier in movies
Oh,
anyway.
really?
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I actually cried at a movie.
Oh, I'll cry at a TikTok. I'll cry at a commercial.
A
movie.
Really? Actually, I lie. I think the last thing that got me teary-eyed as a girl dad is like watching like marriage reality shows when the girl talks to like their dad and their dad like walks them down the aisle. 'Cause I'm just like picturing that day for me one day.
Yeah, that's emotional.
That'll get you. Okay. All right. So, all right. We got 2 of the 3 big questions out of the way. So, last one, really quick. So you mentioned in the last episode of your show that came out that you were doing some ear piercings.
Yes.
I need your hot take on that because, all right, let me break it down. I don't know if you can see my lobes.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
see my lobes. So I was actually talking to my kids about getting my ears pierced. And, of course, immediately they shut me down because anything I want to try to do that's fun, they say, no, Dad, that's cringe. Don't do it. But what do you think? Do you think I should get my ears pierced?
I think it would be, a good move.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell my kids that they were outvoted by one person, even though there's 2 of them.
We'll have to put that on the poll as well.
Okay, I can make a separate poll. Yeah, okay, we got our polls. Thank you. You're doing my post-production work for me already, so I'm pretty set when it comes to that. Then, thank you. But no, so when it comes to piercing people's ears, is that like an easy thing?
It's not too hard. Lobes are easy. The guns that we have are like a spring fire gun, so it's not how it clairs. It pushes through the whole way.
Okay.
These ones you have to load, and when you hit the button, it shoots it through your lobe.
Oh.
They're supposed to be better in a sense, but it's a little more nerve-wracking with that kind. For sure. But yeah, a lot of people don't know with your cosmetology license in Nevada, you can pierce lobes. So.
Oh, is that why you can do it?
I can't do cartilage though, unfortunately. You have to have a separate kind of license.
Is that the top of the ear?
Yeah, any kind of that hard part of the ear, noses.
Okay, interesting. So I guess if I do decide to go get my lobes pierced, I can just go see you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Sounds like
that would be your best bet.
Sounds like we're gonna have a party. So this is what we got to do. We have to have like a legit party night. We got to have like a night where we do like ear piercings, put on some actually maybe Hairspray. I was gonna say put on some High School Musical.
Or
I need to refresh.
Either way.
Or do like a marathon.
Yeah.
A Zac Efron marathon. So we do High School Musical. We do Hairspray.
They do all have Zac. It's the common. Maybe that's what I'm a fan of. It's not so much musicals.
Oh, so this is like therapy almost. We're getting to the root of your passions. It's not so much musicals.
What's the childhood trauma behind the musical?
Oh yeah, seriously. Yeah, we gotta. Okay, so that we'll figure that out another episode. That just means you're gonna have to come back on, and we'll spend a whole episode digging deep into that. All right, but so I guess to let the people get to know you a little bit more. So I don't know, wherever you feel like the best place to start when it comes to getting to know you. There's so many different things. You wear so many different hats.
Yeah,
Not right
so
now.
Multifaceted, Such a unique character. Yeah, I've been doing hair here for a long time, since 2015 on and off. I have 2 kids. They're 3 and 6. They're crazy. They're in the background, if you can hear them. Obviously, a single parent since I'm on this podcast. Yeah. We started our podcast about almost a year ago, and just been doing that, trying to balance that with work and adjusting to life in town instead of out in the country. And yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Well, I think that kind of goes it's a nice little segue, if you will, into kind of what I really wanted to pick your brain about, because you yourself, you just kind of been going through a lot of like changes, especially in this past year, stepping into this single parent life. But last week I kind of shared with the people the theme of this season for the show, which is just like, why not? Like, we as single parents, whether we're been single parents for years or recent single parents, why does that mean we can't still pursue some of the things that we want to pursue, say some of the things we need to say, all those different things? And so we talked about that last week's episode, or a couple weeks episodes ago, so you guys can go check that out. But for you, looking at the idea of like, hey, this is me, this is my reality now, what does that look like for you when you look forward to your future and maybe some of the stuff that you still want to accomplish in life?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that going through such a big change kind of knocks your world on its side and kind of puts things in perspective and really makes you look inward and who am I outside of a mom and a wife?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a tough thing to come to terms with. But that is kind of when we decided to do our podcast, and when I got more, I kind of put myself more into my work, and it's like I have this time with my kids that I really want to make great, and then I have time without my kids that I need to be doing something to be a good person and a good role model for them. And
okay,
I don't want them to just be like, well, my mom just did for us, and didn't really have any interests or hobbies, and so just exploring that. And it's been kind of weird too, because 2 years ago this month I quit drinking. Wow. So I've been straight edge for 2 years.
That's awesome.
So
Nice.
The social aspect of that, in addition to divorce and single parent, it's been a whole rebrand of finding out who you are and what you like and all that kind of stuff, and pursuing things. So yeah, it's been different.
Well, so for you, like, as you've kind of had to process a lot of that, why do you think it's so important for, I mean, you could say like single parents for the context of our show, but like even in parents, as parents in general, why is it so important to make sure that you still take time, do the work to know who you are, alongside of being a parent? Because that describes a lot about us. But like when it comes to making sure your identity, why is that so important?
Right. I think for one, it creates a happy parent, and you're a better parent when you're a happy parent. I know that when I kind of felt lost in the trenches of motherhood, especially when they were little, my patience was so short, and I felt sad and like I couldn't be as good of a mom because I wasn't happy. And I feel like doing things that you enjoy and taking your kids to do things you enjoy, gets them to know you as a person outside of their mom. And I think it kind of creates a really good and close relationship with them outside of just that. That's kind of how my mom was. We always did things together that she liked to do, and her identity was always, kind of there for me. It wasn't just, that's my mom and she's just cooking and taking me to sports, and
right.
We did all sorts of fun stuff together too, and I think that's important to keep your kids close with you.
So you're with time with your kids, you were doing the week on, week off shared custody thing, same thing as me. Yep. So actually, I don't think I've spoken on the show with somebody with the same exact schedule like me. So knowing exactly kind of what you go through, what does your week look like when it is just like you? The kids are with their dad and it's just all you.
Yeah, for sure. I think I still do have them a lot since I'm shuttling them to and from school every day still, but definitely Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays are my days where I am alone.
Yeah.
And it can, they say that it's not linear healing from this kind of thing. And some weekends, are pretty busy and I have a lot of stuff to do, and it feels good to get to do some things for me. And then some weekends it's like you feel really sad and empty because your kids aren't there. And it definitely ping pongs kind of back and forth. On those weekends, I work a lot more on those weekends. I honestly do try to keep my schedule busy. I know you're supposed to get comfortable with being alone and whatever, but I do try to work a lot. This last weekend, I didn't have my kids, and I went to a Hosier concert. So things like that.
Dang, so you really do get out there.
I try to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, just trying to do things that I've always enjoyed doing and keeping busy and staying productive.
Do you ever, or have, like, up to now at least, have you ever, I guess, struggled with the fact that doing the shared custody thing, especially week on, week off?
Yeah.
I asked because somebody pointed this out to me and it like rocked my world. And I'm like, I never thought of that. Why did you even say it like that? But they're like, so basically like half of the year you're not with your kids time wise.
When you put it in perspective like that, right?
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. And then somebody was like, so like you have your kids 6 months out of the year? And I'm like, no, wait. Real? What? And so it's weird. It's weird. And so like that's something that even for me, I've been a single dad for 5 years now. Okay. And that is still something that I have to, I guess, adjust to or work through a lot. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Especially as my kids get older,
Right.
and they're doing more and they're more social and they have their own lives.
Yeah, that's
like
tough.
they'll come back and they'll tell me like, "Oh, Dad, like, oh, here's a good example already." So, my kids like, I guess they're fans of the movie Beetlejuice. I didn't really know that until recently, but there's the second one coming out. And so I was like, okay, I'll take you guys to go see the movie next week, and blah, 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 blah. But they called me like last night or the night before saying like, hey, Dad, just so you know, Mom and her boyfriend are planning on taking us like opening night this week. So I know you said you were going to take us, but is it okay if we go with them? Because we want to see it like right away. And I was like, of course, yeah, it's not a big deal. But inside I was just like, see, like even like something like silly as that, like taking them to a movie they really like I miss out on stuff like that because of this reality. And so there's other stuff like they'll come tell me like, oh, we did this, or like we hung out with so and so, and I'm like, I don't know who so and so is, but I'm glad you had fun. So when it comes like that, have you had to like work through that specific aspect of it yet?
Yeah, it's tough. I try to cultivate this kind of relationship with their dad, that it's important for me that we can still do things together for the kids, you know, as much as we can make that happen. And I am really grateful, honestly, for his schedule, because I do still get to see my kids pretty much every day.
Yeah.
It, you know, it's a lot to be that parent that is the one doing all that stuff all the time, but I am grateful because I think it would be really hard for me to go a full week. But yes, there are things when they come back to my house and they're like, oh, we were playing with so-and-so and we went to their house, and I'm like, who is that? I don't, does your dad know their parents? And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, I'm not a control freak by nature by any means, but it is kind of, when it comes to my kids, I kind of am, I guess. And it is really hard to kind of let go of some of that control and trust that they're in good hands when they're not with me. It's really scary, and not really having a say over what they do or where they go, and just hoping it all works out and they're safe and happy and taken care of. It's stressful.
Definitely. Yeah, it is stressful. I wonder though, like if that stress, because I legit just asked this because I don't know, because I've never been in any other type of situation really with them, but I wonder if like that stress of them like having their own lives as they grow and stuff like that is a large part because of our like single parent dynamic, or if that's just like our normal parenting thing that all parents go through. I don't know. I don't know.
And we won't know now.
Yeah.
You know? This is our reality.
This is it. This is I guess this is how it's going to be. We're living it. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine so. I think that anytime your kids get older and they start hanging out with friends and they don't want to hang out with you as much, and they don't need to come in your room because they're scared at night, and you know, those kind of things just happen before your eyes, and you blink and you're like, when was the last time that my kid took a bath instead of a shower? Or when was the last time that I picked them up and held them? Or, you know, and it kind of just goes so quick and it bleeds together. You don't realize it's happening. They grow up so quick.
Yeah, definitely.
So fast.
Definitely.
So I'm sure, I think we probably feel it a little differently, since there are things we miss out on. It does it. When you say we only have them for half the year, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, when somebody pointed that out to me, I was like, don't ever say that to me ever again. Even though you technically might be right.
Take it back.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I guess, two big questions I wanted to ask you specifically, because again, this has been my reality for like last several years or so it's kind of been like the norm for me. So like for you, who's somebody who's pretty recent stepping into all of this, what would you say to somebody who's like maybe even more recent than you? Like maybe it's like day one, crap just went down last night, I'm here with my kids, what's going on, what do I do? So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I've been doing this for years, so this is what it looks like, and blah 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 blah. But somebody who's like, yeah, like, okay, I've been there like not too long ago, what would you say to that mom or dad who's like, what the hell is going on?
I would definitely, because it is still pretty fresh for me, and it's divorce and splitting up a family is never an easy decision, and it's grieving almost like a death, essentially. And I remember when I was in the very early throes of this and I was still living at the house, but things were moving pretty quick. And one of my friends had said to me, and I took it so offensively at the time, but she was like, you're going to be really, like, you think you're going to be happy right now because you're not doing it. And you're like thinking of all these things. She's like, you're going to be so sad. And I was like, please don't tell me that. But, and it comes in waves, because I was fine for a little while. I was like, she doesn't know. That was just her story. But then it'll hit you out of nowhere. I think just being prepared that it's okay to feel that. It's normal to feel that.
Yeah.
You go from what you thought was going to be your life forever to something completely different, and it's very hard. And it's good to just sit with those feelings and know that some days are going to suck.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be okay every day. And it's okay for your kids to see you cry sometimes. It's good for them to see you be human, and
that's a good point.
And to empathize with them. I know that my kids talking about things where they're like, we still wish you and dad were together, or this is hard. And I don't want them to feel like they're alone in that. And I tell them, like, it's hard for me too. I understand. So yeah, I would just say any advice for somebody going through that, you will be okay.
Yeah.
Time doesn't heal, but it does kind of make it, it makes it bearable. And it takes a long time. And I think that sometimes you'll be okay for a really long time, and one day randomly it'll hit you harder than another day. And it's just knowing it's not linear and there's not really a destination. It's just making it through the day the best you can.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Always just, you got to do the best you can. I appreciate that advice, because I've gotten comments about, like, even this show in general from certain very conservative religious people who don't like that I do the show, because they're like, oh, you're just glamorizing stuff that's not traditional family values, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, like, a couple things. Number one, like, if somebody, like, chooses to, like, be a single parent, like, we want to encourage, like, somebody who's, like, in there, because that's their reality and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there's a lot of people who end up in our reality not by choice, it's just by circumstance. And
exactly.
That's just how stuff goes. And so, like, I appreciate conversations like this for however you, the listener, ended up being a single mom or single dad. There is going to be times where it's tough. Yeah. Like, maybe like on social media and stuff, like, it seems like fun and cool because you have like this like freedom now just to kind of like do you in a lot of different ways and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of parts of it that do need, navigating and figuring out and stuff like that. So for you though, now that you do have like this time to essentially do you when the kids are off at their dad's house, and tying back into the whole theme of why not stepping into just some stuff for yourself. So you mentioned you're doing the podcast, you're working a lot, but is there anything else that you're like, okay, like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to figure out in this season of life, but compared to some other, even single parents out there, because I talk to a lot of single parents who have their kids full-time 24/7.
Right.
So the idea of like, oh, you get any type of time away from your kids, like when they go to their parent, not me, like I'm a mom 365. So for you having that time, is there anything that you like, hey, like I want to use it for this, or anything that you want to like step into as a person yourself?
Yeah. I think still, since it is fresh, it's kind of still navigating, like even thinking about the options of what I could do, or I go to the gym a lot now since I have the time to do it.
Yeah.
I do that. I really try to stay constructive with what I want to do with my free time, because it is easy to fall into a slump of being sad.
Okay.
And I do think that not drinking has helped me with that, because there's not that temptation to go downtown, or kind of spend my time in places that weren't serving me when I was younger. So it's definitely a new type of single to be than what I was used to in my early 20s, you know?
Yeah.
So trying to fill that time, I do enjoy making my fitness more of a priority, spending time. I have a very close, small group of girlfriends, and we do a lot of things together. We go hike a lot. We have girls' nights. That it's just nice to be around your close girlfriends that you can really trust. It's not a huge we're all kind of different ages and different parts of our life, but we all trust each other a lot. And it's been nice to kind of find that through this weird time of my life.
Sure.
That we've all grouped up. And so cultivating those friendships and I still haven't really even figured out I don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to ask you though, because you mentioned a couple of times the drinking aspect.
Oh yeah.
And I guess it got me thinking a little bit, because for me, how I handle that part of life is like, I just made a rule a while ago. Like, I don't really like drink at all when I have my kids.
Oh, for sure.
Because I do the week on, week off thing. So it's easy for me just to say, like, I'm just not going to do it when I have them, for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, one, like, I noticed when I did like have like a drink the night before and then wake up with them, I would just be, sluggish and tired and more grumpy and irritable.
Yeah.
And like, that wasn't fair to them. And then second of all, I just was like, health wise, I should just do this, unless like we're like hanging out with family or something like that, like a dinner or whatever. But I've been thinking lately, like, even when it comes to like times when I don't have my kids, like I don't like go crazy every night, but I was thinking the other day, I had like a drink or something like that before going to bed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't feel like I even needed that. Like, I could go like another week or two without like drinking. Like, I like to go, I like to have fun, I like to party, love a good wedding, love a good open bar.
For sure.
But so for you, kind of living the sober life for a minute now, even when you don't have your kids, because I know like socially, I think for me that's the biggest thing. It's like socially being around people who do stuff that does involve drinking. I think that's kind of where I'm just like, okay, how do I navigate that? So like, what does that look like for you? Somebody who's just like, doesn't matter if I have my kids or not, I'm not doing it.
It was tough for sure. 'Cause I definitely, I was not able to drink in moderation like that. I felt like I had a harder time, and I was definitely using that to self-medicate kind of. So it was definitely really hard at first. And socially, like you said, going out, you kind of have to relearn from scratch how you act in a social setting without an aid of any kind. And it's very uncomfortable and awkward at first. And I think I was very unnerving and off-putting probably for a while. And now that I've kind of found my niche and I know that I could be insane without anything. I don't even need the help to be crazy. But I guess it was good that I kind of started before this transition of my life. So I had some time to get used to it. But it's definitely been a challenge, because not having your kids on those weekends and being in your new, uncomfortable, unfamiliar place alone is very hard. And you do kind of want to use something, to help numb that a little bit. So it's been tough, and it's definitely an adjustment, but every month gets easier. I mean, 2 years in, there's still cravings, but yeah, that's Madison was saying. She was like, I'm kind of sober curious too. I was like, sober curious.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't care one way or the other if anybody does or doesn't. It's personal choice, but I thought that was kind of funny, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of more sober curious now, and that's great too. Whatever anybody wants to do. So.
Well, I think it's cool for you, because it sounds like you had mentioned the fact that it sounds like you can still like be your sane, crazy, goofy self without the help of alcohol.
For sure.
And I think sometimes people, and I know I'm the same, like I'm just like, well, once I get to wherever, I'll have like a couple drinks and I'll loosen up, and then I'll like be the life of the party. But it sounds like for you, like you especially surround yourself with people who like you're comfortable with, so you don't need that to show up and have a good time.
Yeah. It definitely helps to have a good group of friends, and that don't pressure you to, because you kind of, when you make that life choice, you notice who kind of doesn't respect it, and they want you to continue doing that with them, because it makes them feel good. And so it's nice that my group of friends are really supportive and think I'm fun either way. So that's nice. I love them.
That's awesome. Well, Tawny, your kids are amazing. Like they're just, I was just telling Tawny off camera, if my kids were here, they would have destroyed this place by now. But yours are awesome. Yours are dope.
Thank you. They're medicated. Just kidding. Just kidding.
She's like, you didn't see what I gave them before we got out of the car.
The melatonin gummies. I'm just kidding. No, they are really, they're really good kids. They rarely throw a fit in public, and
Nice.
they're very well mannered. So I'm very fortunate, and they're fun.
Well, do you think they'll be chill for one last segment with us before we let you go?
Let's give it a try.
All right, let's do it. All right, everybody, this is the part of the podcast we like to call Deeply Single. For those of you who've made it to the deep end of the episode, we just want to give you something maybe encouraging, something maybe thoughtful to think about as you head out and keep on keeping on with your week. But this time I kind of asked Tawny, like, hey, when it comes to your life, things that maybe have stood out to you when it comes to, I don't know, encouragement or something that you've been thinking a lot about as a mom doing your thing. What's been something that has really spoke to you that you might want to share with the people?
Kind of ties in from a couple different points from what we were just talking about. And when you said deeply single, when you had messaged me, I was like, I'm deeply single.
Amen, sister. Amen to
and
that.
I had mentioned to my friend, it can get kind of discouraging, even if you're not single for a very long time. I don't know if it's a different perspective from a man's point of view, but as a woman, it's like your time clock is ticking, and it's like, I'm 29, I'm gonna be 30, and then nobody's ever gonna love me, and blah blah blah. So I had kind of gone on this pity party to my friend, and I was like, and what if I'm just alone forever and that's my story? She said, or what if you just do all of this by yourself right now and you don't need a guy to help you do it, and you're fine.
Yeah.
And you get to say when you do meet a guy sometime in the future that you did do all this hard stuff alone and you didn't need somebody to help you. She said, what if that's your story?
Nice.
I was like,
that's awesome.
My gosh, what if it is? And it's like, that's such a good way to look at it.
That's so cool.
Right. It can feel so discouraging and very isolating and lonely sometimes. Yeah. And it's like when you really need that perspective shift of like, I'm unlovable and I'm going to be alone, and change it to, it's like, well, your kids are looking at somebody that is doing all of this and they think you're awesome. And what if you can do it all by yourself, and you could be really proud of yourself one day at the end of it if you do find somebody, or if you don't, and you get to thank yourself. You get to have your little Kanye West speech of, I'd like to thank me for doing all this hard work.
I love that.
So it did help shift my perspective. Like, I am okay and I'm doing a good job, and it feels defeating sometimes, but when you look at the bigger picture of all the stuff you've done, it's like, I'm kicking ass. So
Yep.
all you single parents are kicking ass.
Yes, amen. That is right. I hope that you all walk away hearing that, is that as long, I've said it before, but as long as your kids are feeling cared for, safe, loved, fed, you have a roof over their head, like, you are kicking ass, and that's huge. And I know that kind of doesn't sound so extravagant, because maybe like you just look at your life and you do have like the very simple things, or you're just still figuring it out, and then you look at other people with all this crazy stuff and they're doing all this crazy stuff, and you feel not good enough, or maybe it's just exhaustion. Like, to get all that stuff for your kids, provide for your kids, just takes a lot, and you have to pour. But we just hope that that at the end of the day, if your kids have all of that love and safety and security from you, knowing that you're just doing the best you can, then that's huge, and they don't need all that extracurricular stuff, and they're going to grow up to appreciate the fact that you busted your ass to provide that. Maybe, especially if you have younger kids, maybe they don't know how to articulate that now, but I'm sure they will one day. But that's really good advice. I definitely understand that feeling, though, of like, I'm getting older. I'm alone. I'm going to just be me and my 50 cats one day, sitting around on my porch.
Mortality just starts to become...
Hits you. Oh, my gosh. Especially, I mentioned my hot haircut earlier, but when I was just getting my hair ready to get cut, I just have so many grays. And I'm like, oh, man, you're like aging, bro. Like, what is going on? And then I said this a couple of episodes ago. I was talking about like I'm applying for like Love Island, and I've done Bachelorette stuff, but on those shows they talk about like late 20-year-olds as like old.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 29 and I haven't found love. I'm so old. And then like I'm here with my gray hairs being like, Oof, I guess I'm like a grandpa then, huh?
That is so funny. But you know what? Every show that I love, like Sex and the City and stuff, they were all in their 30s and they were in their prime. So I'm like,
there you go.
30 is the new 21.
We need to normalize that. 30 is the new 21. So that means I would be, wait, how old am I? 21. I'm not good at math. I guess I would be 25.
25.
Wait, what's 4?
I'm 20 then.
You're 20? You're 29?
I'm 29.
Okay. I'm bad at math. That's why I do podcasts and not accounting work, I guess. But I think I'd be 25. But 25, that's a good year. And 20, that's good. You're almost able to drink. But you don't drink anyway, so it works out.
Yeah.
See, it's all meant to be.
We have our whole lives ahead of us.
It's all meant to be. Well, Tawny, thank you so much for coming on the show. Hopefully you had a good time and you'll maybe want to do it again.
Oh, yeah. I'm a regular now.
Let's go. Because don't forget, next episode that you're on, we need to dive deep into why musicals really get to you. We gotta do a deep dive on the history that is you.
And the Zac Efron paradox.
And the Zac Efron paradox. We're gonna crack the code. We're gonna figure it out. It's gonna be a good time. So just make sure you all stick around. You're subscribed. Do all the things so you never miss another episode, including that episode or more episodes with Tawny in the future. And I think that's going to wrap it up. Anything else that you have?
No, that's
it. Go check out the Good Girl broadcast wherever you get your podcast, right?
Spotify.
There you go. That's where most
we
people
need to
get
expand.
We'll make that happen. We're gonna be like this new podcast duo empire right here. We're taking it. Alex Cooper, call her daddy. We're coming for you. You see these? This is the future of podcast right here, baby. So make sure, go check out the show. We'll put the link in the description so you can click and you can hear all of Tawny and Madison's antics over there. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. My name's Anthony. This is Tawny. Until next time, you all out there, just stay beautiful. Bye.